Well, I mean, this is Donald Trump at its best or at its worst. I mean, he is someone who is very bad at making complex decisions. He's always trying to find a nice spin, a nice narrative around something. But now both narratives are mutually exclusive. He's kind of torn between the Americans' most important sort of allies in the region, Israel, and the Gulf. Obviously, the Gulf in recent years has shown that it's far more valuable, much less of a liability. Israel has proven to be increasingly a liability. But Trump doesn't find the right words to condemn Israel wholeheartedly for what is a violation of international law and Qatar's sovereignty. But at the same time, he's saying, oh, it shouldn't have happened in Qatar, but it's good that we hit Hamas and that they hit Hamas, and I'm giving him a green light to do that. It just shows that it's complete mayhem in Washington. I think the U.S., the White House, as also the Department of Defense or Department of War, as it's called now, is in complete disarray. The lines of communication are entirely disrupted. The fact that the U.S. CENTCOM had to inform the president that the Israelis are already en route to attacking Qatar. The fact that Qatar was only warned as the attack was already unfolding. I mean, it's a complete disaster. And it shows that America is no longer in control, not just of Israel as the main sort of proxy of the United States in the region, but also is not really in control of regional affairs. And it's its role as a protector of security in the Gulf, which is very important for all 6 GCC countries. That role has been undermined. And I think everyone in the Gulf this evening will ask themselves, is America still reliable? Or should we pivot away and diversify our relations away from America?
Well, Andreas, to that point and to that question, if you're Qatar, bearing in mind that Hamas says the senior leadership, its senior leadership that was present in that building in Doha has survived the Israeli attack, if you're Qatar, can you now trust this promise by Donald Trump, made apparently to the Emir of Qatar, that this will not happen again on Qatari soil?
Absolutely not. And the reason behind this is that Trump, like previous US presidents, they are the dogs that are being waggled by the tail, if you will. It's the other way around. It's Netanyahu driving US policy. He's forcing the hand of US presidents. It's not that the US presidents are actually in control of Israel and are willing to use the coercive force that the United States actually has in controlling and constraining the Israeli military. And hence, this is what the red line is all about that was crossed today. The fact that the US administration is completely helpless and that Israel, as Rob said, is completely unconstrained, unhinged, crossing red line after red line without being called back by the United States, means that there is literally not a target in the region that Israel will not strike. And I would agree with Rob that if I was in Turkey right now, I would be asking the very same question.
Do you think Israel has any expectation that Qatar will continue to mediate? And I say this having no idea whether Qatar will or won't. But I think it's a fair question to ask. Qatar has been a mediator along with Egypt and the US, and it's just been attacked by Israel.
Now, in June, the 23rd of June, we've had a similar scenario. Qatar was attacked, and then they kind of transformed that into an opportunity for mediation. The situation now is very different. We have a Qatari who was killed. It wasn't a telegraphed attack. We have serious damage. We have obviously hosts, people that were hosted by Qatar being killed in Qatar as well. This is a severe escalation. So Qatar there have to be some consequences. But we shouldn't underestimate also the fact that for Qatar, mediation is everything. This is at the very heart of its grand strategy, its strategic culture. And if there is an opportunity, if there was an opportunity, an actual opportunity for peace, Qatar will seize the moment. But at the moment, it's quite clear, Netanyahu, with that government, there's absolutely no opportunity for peace. There's no willingness in Israel for any diplomatic solution. And Israel has de facto torpedoed the mediation process, quite literally, thrown a bomb at the mediation process. So at the moment, I don't think for Qatar there is any avenue. But behind the scenes, in the quiet, in private, Qatar will try to look for opportunities to re-enter the process if there are any. But I can't see any opportunities at this moment.
So look, what are possible next steps? Because there have always been 2 tracks that we've been monitoring, right? Israel's military offensive in Gaza, which is in full swing, and they are leveling buildings in Gaza City as we speak, and they are pushing hundreds of thousands of people out. And there has been at the same time the diplomatic track with hopes, which in hindsight could appear somewhat naive, with hopes that at some point the diplomatic track could yield peace, or at least a lasting ceasefire. What are the next steps now?
I don't see that. I don't see that. I think the IDF is preparing in Gaza. If you look at the activities over the last couple of days, the airstrikes that have intensified around Gaza City, the leaflets that were dropped over Gaza City telling nearly 1 million people to basically evacuate and move somewhere south, which is impossible to do. All of that suggests the IDF is preparing that next step in the operation. But what Israel wants is continuous limbo. What Netanyahu wants is a continuous limbo in Gaza, because it doesn't want to make a firm decision. It doesn't want to end the war. It doesn't necessarily want to get the hostages back, because an end of the war will kind of put Bibi back into the limelight, Netanyahu back in the limelight. There will be questions asked about his role in the 7th of October attack and the failure of the government to prevent it. There'll be question about his the various legal cases against him over corruption and so on. And there are so many question marks. Netanyahu's political survival depends on the war to continue, unfortunately. And Trump is somewhat disinterested. He doesn't seem to be willing to pull all the levers that the US has to contain and constrain Israel. And unfortunately, within Israel also, I don't see enough of a mobilization. There's a lot of criticism from various parts of Israel, Israeli civil society, including part of the military, of how the government is running this war. But all of this has led to absolutely nothing. Even having hundreds of thousands of people protesting in Israel to release the hostages hasn't really prompted the prime minister to do anything in Israel. So I don't see at the moment that there is a way out. I mean, Netanyahu is beholden to the far-right extremists in the government, but in the process of all of that, he's become a prime minister who firmly believes now in the greater Israel idea. He wants to remake the Middle East. And what happened today in Qatar is part of that wider Israeli grand strategy of no longer just mowing the lawn, but completely using a plow to completely disrupt and destroy the lawn all over the region. And I think that this is probably the biggest warning to all other regional actors that Israel is now a pariah state.
Andreas Krieg, thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's just